You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Wednesday the 17th of October. UK Muslim gets community service for obscene anti-British rants. Children called Nazis and bigots for opposing same-sex marriage. School in Sweden stops healthy eating because other schools do not do it. Yippee, there is a link between chocolate and the Nobel Prize. Top German economists say Greece is lost. Turkish mega mosque in Germany sparks trouble. Pope delivers message in Arabic, shame on him. Detroit police back out of working in Detroit. Thought for the day, name calling, racism and the police. And finally, YouTube for new vicars, anyone? UK news. UK Muslim, as are Ahmed's Facebook post which read, all soldiers should die and go to hell. The low-life fucking scum. Got a problem, go cry at your soldier's grave and wish him hell because that's where he's going. Earned him a 2-year community order with 240 hours unpaid work plus a £300 court costs, and that is all. The mother of a soldier killed in Afghanistan has slammed the sentence given to Ahmed, 20 of Fir Avenue, Ravensthorpe, for his abusive comments on Facebook. Natalie Taylor, 40, said Azar Ahmed should have been jailed for remarks made only days after her son, Corporal Jake Hartley, was killed. Mrs Taylor said after sentencing at Kirklees Magistrates Court in Huddersfield, "He should have been sent to jail. They should have made an example of him. It's easy to sit behind a computer writing whatever you please when there are soldiers fighting for the freedom of speech these people hide behind. My son gave his life for this country, and then in such a short time Ahmed has completely disrespected his memory and those of his fellow soldiers." The sentence was also met with cries of disgusting from protesters in the public gallery, some of whom stormed out after the verdict. One man was arrested by police for shouting abuse at District Judge Jane Godwin as she exited the public gallery. A World Date commentator said, "I wish Ahmed would say this to me, because he'd be eating hospital food for quite some time." Community leaders in the United Kingdom are raising concerns over the increase of harassment of youths by their peers for their stance over the same-sex marriage. An issue are claims that children as young as 12 who do not endorse homosexuality or same-sex marriage are being labelled as Nazis and bigots, according to a senior Roman Catholic official. John Dame, the Roman Catholic Church's parliamentary officer in Scotland, revealed that he has become aware of the disturbing trend which sees some of young children being harassed by their peers over their views and beliefs related to a few specific issues. European news. A talented head cook at a school in central Sweden has been told to stop baking fresh bread and to cut back on her wide-ranging veggie buffets because it was unfair that students at other schools didn't have access to the unusually tasty offerings. Annika Eriksson, a lunch lady at a school in Falun, was told that her cooking is just too good. The municipality has ordered Eriksson to bring it down a notch to match other schools, but fourth graders at the school have launched a petition in protest against the decision to put a lid on Eriksson's passion for cooking. A World Day spokesman commented, "This is an example of what I call moderate extremism, under the false name of fairness, but it is actually a dumbing down of standards." You don't have to be a genius to like chocolate, but geniuses are more likely to eat lots of chocolate, at least according to a new paper published in the August New England Journal of Medicine. Franz Messerli reports a highly significant correlation between a nation's per capita chocolate consumption and the rate at which its citizens win Nobel Prizes. Building on research raising the possibility that the flavonols in chocolate may enhance cognitive performance, Messerli analysed the relationship between the number of Nobel laureates per capita in a country with that country's per capita chocolate consumption. Several top German economic institutes on Thursday warned that German growth is slowing down as the country continues to be hampered by the ongoing Eurozone debt crisis. And Greece, they say, will be unable to free itself from its debt burden and will need another haircut. Chancellor Angela Merkel has been hoping that her trip to Athens earlier this week would help demonstrate German solidarity with Greece as it struggles to overcome its debt crisis. A few days later, however, leading economic institutes in Germany have stated, "We believe that Greece cannot be saved," said Joachim Scheid from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. New restructuring of the Greek debt, or a debt haircut, by the IMF has been deemed not helpful by Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble, and alternatives, however, are few and far between. This, combined with the threat of further Eurozone turbulence, spells bad news for both the German and European economies. Cologne, Germany. Back to the bad old days of the Turkish-led Ottoman Empire, which ruled over a large chunk of Europe. Now many believe the Turks want to bring back those days. The Turkish government has embarked on a mosque building campaign throughout Germany, and the construction of the Turkish Cologne Central Mosque has many Germans on edge. When completed, it will be Germany's largest Muslim house of worship and one of the largest mosques in all of Europe. A World Date reporter comments, "I just hope it isn't near the wonderful Cologne Cathedral, which is really beautiful. This horrendous abomination is costing $40 million plus and will house 1,200 worshippers. Well, at least the Germans will know where the 125,000 Turkish Muslims who live in Cologne are." World News. The Pope delivered a greeting in Arabic for the first time during his weekly general audience as part of an effort to reach out to Muslims as well as Arabic-speaking Christians in the Middle East. Pope Benedict XVI typically delivers greetings in 6 languages, including English and Italian, but added a message in Arabic as he addressed the crowds in St. Peter's Square. The Pope prays for all people who speak Arabic. "May God bless you all," the pontiff said. Now, Pope John Paul, who was nearly killed by a Palestinian Muslim assassin, actually kissed the book, the Koran. Now, this book sends out the message repeatedly to kill or convert Christians and non-Muslims. The Vatican said it hoped the Pope's adoption of Arabic would be a comfort to Arabic-speaking Christians in the Middle East and could ease tensions with Muslims. A World Date reporter has commented, "The Pope has been backtracking ever since he spoke the truth in 2006, when he talked at a German university and quoted a remark made in the 14th century by a Byzantine emperor who referred to the teachings of Muhammad as evil and human and spreading his faith by the sword. Seems a fair description to me. Stop grovelling, Pope Benedict, and stand up for Christians, not Muslims." The once great city of Detroit is continuing to self-implode, a victim of decades of gross mismanagement that borders on the criminal, and the result is that their police force union states that Detroit is too dangerous to visit, let alone police. Detroit is America's most violent city, its homicide rate is the highest in the country, and yet the Detroit Police Department is grossly understaffed. Detroit Police Officer Association DPOA attorney Donata Lorio told the CBS affiliate. The DPOA believes that there is a war in Detroit, but there should be a war on crime, not a war on its officers. The department of 2,000 personnel has shrunk rapidly and hundreds of officers have left the department. A flyer passed out by police during the October 6th rally pointed out that Detroit is the nation's most violent city with the highest murder count, and yet its officers are the lowest paid in the US. Officers have been threatened by the state treasurer with yet another 10% wage cut for going to court to protect their rights. Even the city's lights are going out. A World Date writer comments, "Detroit is now 82.7% black and the city officials are, of course, black. But the main problem with Detroit is that the car industry, which drew thousands of blacks from around the US, failed, and to compile this tragedy the bankers and their subprime mortgages finished what the failed car industry started. Detroit is now a dark hole and the bankers are to blame. In fact, bank money should be injected into the city to rebuild what they have mainly destroyed." Southern Poverty Law Centres pushes homosexual tolerance to elementary students with Mix It Up Day. A national civil rights group that is known for its advocacy of the homosexual lifestyle is promoting its annual Mix It Up Tolerance Day to elementary schools. On Tuesday, October 30th, over 2,000 public and private schools across the United States are scheduled to participate in an observance spearheaded by the Southern Poverty Law Centre, which begins at, but is not limited to, lunchtime. It focuses on encouraging youth to meet up with and affirm those who are different from them, not only persons of various races and ethnicities, but also those who are openly homosexual. Thought for the day. From the Muslim bastard who gets community service for insulting the armed forces of the country he feels happy to live in, to the even more idiotic rumpus over the Fenian bastard tweet and our chairman Nick Griffin, who responded in positive fashion over an insult to his wife Jackie Griffin, and indeed the English as a whole, what is the world of media and indeed the sheeple coming to? Could it be they're getting extremely nervous over the way that the social structure of this country is going? Because I am. There was a saying many years ago that the Irish would have ruled the world if they didn't have one weakness, and that is drink. The IRA and the Southern Irish do have understandable grievances against us, what with Henry VIII, Cromwell and the potato famine, which I can understand. Also, if we had treated the Jamaican immigrants the way we treated the Irish ones, we would not have the problem today in certain areas. But the fact is that Sinn Féin themselves sell awful mugs with a repellent message on them which reads, and I quote, "Still an unrepentant Fenian bastard," and I would second that statement. I just love Nick's statement. I have no objection to Sinn Féin selling mugs. In fact, I think it is preferable as a way of raising funds to robbing banks. The Northern Irish police should have more on their hands with their part of air to bother with this, but of course they may be appeasing the IRA as we are busy appeasing the sodding Muslims in the UK. Now the Muslim troll who put insults on the web, well, words fail me. What happened to deportation or death? If a European in Saudi had put such comments about the Saudis and their less than gleaming tradition of Islam in such words, you can bet your bottom dollar he would have been taken out and hung, or there would have been many a protest, burning or killing, that would have been justified in the name of their God Allah. Who, I would like it known, is not my God. My God is called God, not Allah, and they are not the same deity to me. Now the police seem to be ratcheting up the old racist slur a notch or two. When the woman and her 4 children were tragically burnt to death in their house and the remaining child and father in hospital, no sooner had the news hit the fan than ITV broadcast it, and the first words out of the presenter's mouth were, "The police see no reason to treat this as a racially motivated crime." Now I may be slow, but apart from the fact that this huge family were obviously Muslim and either Pakistani or Bangladeshi, why would the police have anything to say anyway? All house fires are handled by the fire brigade, aren't they, at first? Surely, why were the police brought in at that early stage? Well, it is because of the racial angle, of course. Any way the police can get their oar in and appear to be supporting these people, the happier they are. This racist slur is getting too much. It's intruding on all forms of life in the UK now. Children are considered racist for observing that people are different colours, and same-sex marriage is not the norm for human beings. Comedians are ignored or vilified for racist jokes, and indeed comedian Frankie Boyle is suing the Mirror for saying he is racist over a joke about Obama. Now everyone can see Obama is actually half white, not just black, so what is the problem? Great comedians like Freddie Starr and Jim Davidson were racist, but their jokes were never nasty or derogatory, and indeed I loved Jim's Chalky. He imitated the West Indian accent to perfection, and Chalky reduced me to tears on many an occasion. The fact was that in the 70s and 80s the police were not encouraged to go easy on young black youths, as indeed they were not easy on white youths who misbehaved. And if one is fair, if you had 2 youths hanging around, one black and one white, it would usually be the black one who would have the knife and the white one the drugs. Fact of life. Stop and search was good. Now we have nothing, and knife crime is on the increase. No jokes there then. But the police do seem to bring race into any crime or happening they investigate, except of course the Muslim grooming gangs, who they avoid like the plague, as do the other authorities. Meanwhile slavering over stupid bints who have had their bits and pieces groped by famous white guys. News is not deemed news unless it contains some poor Asian family being burnt to death, hopefully of course by an idiot who has a BNP leaflet stuffed somewhere in his house. If not, it would be placed there while the anti-racist morons buzz all over someone who's told a joke. The main point being, if you do not like certain jokes about certain people, don't listen. Haven't our plods got anything better to do than stick their oar in to see if there's any racial element to practically anything? There was a parking incident next door to me. No crash, no damage, but I heard some altercation and I went out. This was in summer 2010. There was a woman who was white and a man who also appeared white. She was in the Rolls and he was in something different, and there'd been an altercation over a parking space. She drove off and he came over and spoke to me. He told me he was getting the police because she had apparently said to him, "People like you should not be here." Now this fellow was white, a bit on the swarthy side, but probably a traveller with a broad northern accent. He wanted me to be a witness, so I said I would, but I hadn't heard anything, just her shouting. Well, you would have thought the end of the world had come. The local police sent round a WPC who took a statement, and on learning I was a member of the BNP she practically orgasmed on the spot and said she'd be in touch. Well, it was almost the next day when the CPS decided to prosecute this lady because of racial overtones of her statement. I thought long and hard and decided not to give evidence because despite the promptings of the very nice WPC, I had not heard anything really clearly, and I knew that as a member of the BNP I would be grilled and made to look a complete moron, so I withdrew my statement and the prosecution did not go ahead. This was a case of a mountain made out of the race molehill, and our entire society is now structured judicially around this, and it is wrong. It is this structure, an unspoken barrier, that prevents the authorities monitoring or stopping immigration. It is this structure that prevents the indigenous British standing up for themselves and their rights. It is this structure that allows Muslim protests throughout our land when we should greet them with water cannons and dogs. It is this structure which allows rampant mosque building in our cities when it should be forbidden. It is this structure that stands by whilst corporations and bankers destroy a country but leave the large Muslim population alone. It is this structure that sees young underage white girls raped and abused whilst their rapists are never prosecuted for statutory rape, but willing stupid girls are apparently traumatised after 40 years after being groped by a dead man. It is this structure that stands by and indeed encourages the elimination of industry, farming and fishing in this country, making us dependent on the third world for items we once made ourselves. It is this structure that has seen the takeover of foreign powers in this country, and we all dance to the EU tune. I am waiting for the day when the average man in the street says, "I will not bow down. I will laugh at whom I like. I will not dance to the multicultural band. I will become a nationalist and fight for my country and my religion. I will take back what has been taken. I will work hard to ensure my children do not grow up second-class citizens in their own country. I will win. It may take months or years, but I will win." That day might be approaching faster than you think. And finally, there is a new way of advertising for new church personnel. Churchgoers in Essex have taken to YouTube to advertise for a replacement for their vicar, the Reverend Mary Cotty, who oversaw the parish's two busy churches, St Andrew's in Bickacre and St Mary's in Woodham Ferrers, for 16 years. As it is, they currently borrow retired clergy and vicars from parishes nearby, since the Rev Cotty retired in 2011. So, desperate times require desperate measures, and the villagers have made a video which appeals for suitable candidates. It features the whole village, and they are using a cardboard cutout life-size vicar to show where the new reverend will fit in. The video opens with one parishioner being ticked off by the director for making a joke over the graveyard being the dead centre of the village. This presenter says that joke is lovely and harmless. Of course a graveyard is the dead centre of a place, it stands to reason. You've been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart and I wish you all a very good night. Same-sex marriage. School in Sweden stops healthy eating because other schools do not do it. Yippee, there is a link between chocolate and the Nobel Prize. Top German economists say Greece is lost. Turkish mega-mosque in Germany sparks trouble. Pope delivers message in Arabic, shame on him. Detroit police back out of working in Detroit. Thought for the day: name calling, racism and the police. And finally, YouTube for new vicars, anyone?
You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Wednesday the 17th of October. UK Muslim gets community service for obscene anti-British rants. Children called Nazis and bigots for opposing Avenue Ravensthorpe for his abusive comments on Facebook. Natalie Taylor, 40, said Azar Hamed should have been jailed for remarks made only days after her son, Corporal Jake Hartley, was killed. Mrs Taylor said after sentencing at Kirklees Magistrates Court in Huddersfield, "He should have been sent to jail. They should have made an example of him. It's easy to sit behind a computer writing whatever you please when there are soldiers fighting for the freedom of speech these people hide behind. My son gave his life for this country, and then in such a short time Ahmed has completely disrespected his memory and those of..." UK News. UK Muslim, as are Ahmed's Facebook post which read, "All soldiers should die and go to hell. The low-life fucking scum. Got a problem, go cry at your soldier's grave and wish him hell because that's where he's going," earned him a 2-year community order with 240 hours unpaid work plus a £300 court costs, and that is all. The mother of a soldier killed in Afghanistan has slammed the sentence given to Ahmed, 20 of his fellow soldiers. The sentence was also met with cries of disgusting from protesters in the public gallery, some of whom stormed out after the verdict. One man was arrested by police for shouting abuse at District Judge Jane Godwin as she exited the public gallery. A World at 8 commentator said, "I wish Ahmed would say this to me, because he'd be eating hospital food for quite some time." Community leaders in the United Kingdom are raising concerns over the increase of harassment of youths by their peers for their stance over the same-sex marriage.